What's today's topic? We're talking about supplements in multiple sclerosis. Howdy, Aaron Boster here, and thanks for learning about MS with me. Today's topic is on supplements and multiple sclerosis. I want you to be 4 for 4 in your fight against MS. 4 for 4 in your fight means that there are 4 things that I'm aware of that help slow down this disease. And so going through them very briefly, number 1 is to not smoke tobacco. Cigarettes increases the risk to develop MS quite substantially, and if you have MS, smoking speeds up the disease process. Fortunately, if you quit smoking, it slows the disease back down. Number 2 is to exercise as part of your lifestyle. People with MS who exercise as part of their lifestyle accrue disability slower. They end up less neurologically disabled down the road. That's amazing. Number 3, in being 4 for 4, is to take a disease-modifying therapy. And it's my opinion that I want you to take the most effective DMT that you're willing to tolerate as early as possible. I want you to constantly evaluate its success and escalate if necessary. Now, number 4, which is really the topic of this conversation, is supplementing low levels of vitamin D. I have expanded the concept of supplementing low levels of vitamin D to include other aspects of diet and nutrition. And increasingly, I think that we really need to pay better attention to what we put in our bodies, the fuel that we give us, the things that we take in, if we're really going to be the most awesome version of us possible. Today's live stream is dedicated to the 4th element, that's supplements in multiple sclerosis. So a couple important disclaimers. These are very important disclaimers and warnings. What I'm about to say might be some of the most relevant information I'm going to share with you today. First off, I am not recommending that you start taking supplements based on what I tell you today. I am not recommending that you use this live stream or this video as a recipe to take to the health food store and buy a bunch of supplements. Absolutely not. This is medical education only, and it is my full intention that it allows you to think and then have a conversation with your clinician. Please do not start taking supplements and vitamins and minerals without talking to your doctor. That's very, very important to me. I am not giving you medical advice. I am simply educating you about supplements for multiple sclerosis so that you can talk to your clinician about them yourself. Number 2, I hate to tell you, but there is no magic bullet. I am not going to tell you today about some miracle pill that you can pick up at the health food store, which is going to revolutionize your MS or cure your MS. That simply does not exist. There's no magic bullet, and I feel strongly that you can really up your game through hard work, not smoking, exercising as part of your lifestyle, taking a DMT, and paying attention to your diet. But there's no magic bullet. Number 3, I want you to be very cautious about immune boosters. If you go to a health food store, you will see packages that say immune booster. Now, whether or not they actually do that is a separate discussion. But if in fact a substance boosted your immune response, that might be the wrong direction for someone impacted by an autoimmune condition. The 4th disclaimer or warning is a very important one. Vitamins and supplements are not regulated by the FDA. There's no oversight. If you see a label that says, this pill will make you grow, or this pill will do X or Y, that's a statement which is not regulated. In other words, they can make a claim and it doesn't have to be proven to be true. And it's very, very important that you understand that. It's also important that you understand it's possible that what they say is in the bottle might not be in the bottle. It's not checked on or regulated in a way that allows us to verify. When you are prescribed a medicine by your doctor that you pick up at a pharmacy, and they tell you that there's 10 milligrams of a substance, there is exactly 10 milligrams of a substance. And if a medicine in the package insert says that it can, for example, lower blood pressure, that is a statement that has been proven to the satisfaction of the American FDA. Not true with vitamins and supplements. And so please keep that in mind as you peruse the counters at the health food store. The next thing I want to review with you is my 3 rules. And they're not really rules, they're more recommendations. But when someone comes to me and asks me, hey, is this complementary therapy okay with you? I typically have 3 general rules that I want you to consider. The first one is whatever we're talking about can't be too expensive. Every individual human has to decide for themselves whether they think something is too expensive. But if we're talking about a complementary therapy, if we're talking, for example, about a particular vitamin supplement, sometimes they can be very, very pricey. And you have to decide for yourself whether or not that's too expensive. My second rule is that it can't be dangerous. And it is possible that a natural substance can be very dangerous for you. I'll give you an example of cyanide. Cyanide is a naturally occurring substance which will kill you. My point here is that we want to make sure that whatever you're taking is not dangerous. And sometimes that involves doing some research with your doctor or with your pharmacist to figure out if, in fact, this substance is dangerous. The third thing, we can't have a supplement instead of something that we know works. So if you say, for example, hey, Dr. B, I want to take this vitamin, I don't want you to take it instead of a medicine that we know works to slow your disease. It should be in addition to. And so I ask you to remember those 3 rules as you're contemplating taking a supplement for multiple sclerosis. Now I would like to get into some specifics. The first category that I want to discuss as it relates to supplements or things that you take in are things that your body needs. The number one thing that I think that we should be talking about is water. I have done several live streams and several videos where I talk about the importance of hydration and adequate water intake. And if you are going to make one change, only one change in your diet, you might need to start by increasing your water intake, increasing your fluid hydration. Now you may say, oh gosh, Aaron, that's silly. And you're supposed to be talking about supplements. But I'm going for bang for our buck. And quite honestly, if there's only one change that you're going to make, I want you to up your water game. Number 2 is I want us to think about macronutrients. Macronutrients include protein, carbs, and fat. And we need macronutrients in our diet. In fact, sometimes we may find that we're deficient in some of our macronutrients. There are situations where we need to heal. For example, God forbid if you have a wound, and you need to take in enough protein to give yourself the building blocks to build muscle and to heal. And so thinking about the macronutrients that you're taking in is actually very, very relevant. I'm now going to give you a pro tip. As you're trying to figure out those macronutrients, I want you to consider eating real food. Many people don't eat real food. If you're sustaining yourself on diet soda and fast food, I hate to tell you this, but you're not eating real food. If you're sustaining yourself on packaged protein bars and plastic wrappers, you're not eating real food. And when I want you to take in macronutrients, proteins, fats, and carbs, I want you to find them in real food. Here's an experiment that you can do. Go to your local fast food shop and buy yourself a cheeseburger. Don't eat it, just purchase it. Bring it home, unwrap it, and leave it on your counter. Come back a year later and take a look at what it looks like. You know what it looks like? It looks like a burger. It didn't rot. Real food should rot. If you leave out real food for a couple days, it's going to turn green and it's going to rot and smell bad. And fast food is so laden with extra sugars and salts and chemicals, it really blows my mind. So as a pro tip, as you seek out appropriate macronutrients, I want you to find them in real food. As such, I'm going to challenge you as we think about supplements to be very selective in your nutritional choices. I want you to consider avoiding fast food, avoiding processed foods, avoiding sugar-laden sodas. And so that's a challenge that I throw out there for you. Now, before I talk about specific supplements, I do want to very briefly review with you what I consider to be a pretty solid diet. When I say a heart-healthy diet, that is a good place to start. And the first thing we think about with a heart-healthy diet is portion control. And portion control is remarkable. So do a Google search and look up the portion of something that you're supposed to be eating. You may find that if you go to a restaurant or serve yourself something to eat, that the portions are gigantic. And it makes it very, very hard to control calories in, calories out if your portions are enormous. Let me briefly go through with you a list of foods that I would consider as being healthy. And before you say, Aaron, wait, I thought we were talking about supplements. There's a lot of vitamins and minerals and macronutrients by selecting good foods. This is real, guys. Consider eating a variety of fruits and vegetables of lots of different colors, shapes, and sizes. Fruits and vegetables are outstanding. They're jam-packed full of vitamins. They're jam-packed full of minerals and nutrients, and they have a good form of fiber. Number two, think about eating fiber-rich whole grains. I'm going to come back to fiber supplementation a little bit later in this lecture, but fiber-rich whole grains are something to consider. When we talk about the macronutrient protein and we think about where we're going to get protein, I would encourage you to consider lean meats. Things like skinless poultry and fish are the bomb diggity. You want to be cautious about excessive amounts of fatty red meat. Now, as far as cooking oils go, please consider non-tropical vegetable cooking oils. This would be things like canola, corn, olive, peanut, soybean, sunflower oils. Those are oils that may tend to be a bit better. And lastly, as we think about getting foods for macronutrients, I want you to think about low-fat sources of dairy products. Now, let me also spend a minute or two talking about foods that are on the naughty list. And foods on the naughty list don't mean that you should never, ever have them. I just think that you might want to consider limiting them in your diet. And so these would be foods that are high in saturated fats, fatty beef, fatty lamb, pork. The skin on chicken is not the best choice. Lard and beef fat are things that you might want to consider minimizing. Again, this is my opinion. I'm sharing this with you because if we're going to pick a supplement, I want to make sure that you're eating a healthy diet first. Arguably, eating a healthy, nutritious, heart-smart diet has more of an impact than any pill that I'm going to be talking about. I want you to avoid, limit, or completely ignore anything that has high trans fats. These are your donuts, your cookies, your muffins, your pies, and your cakes, commercially fried foods, baked goods that use shortening or partially hydrogenated vegetable oils. All right, so those are things that we would put on the naughty list. I also include sweets and sugar-sweetened beverages. When you grab a can of soda, it typically has 12 tablespoons of sugar in it, and that's about 12 tablespoons too much. Lastly, I wouldn't be doing my job with MS education today if I didn't remind you to not smoke cigarettes and to drink alcohol in moderation. Remember, an average adult male can metabolize 2 alcoholic beverages a night with no ill effects on his liver, and an average adult female, 1 alcoholic beverage with no undue impact to her liver. Okay, that was a preamble, and now I'm going to transition into vitamins and minerals. Let's have a conversation. When we think about vitamins and minerals, if you were just listening to my discussion on diet, you're going to get the vitamins and minerals that you need through healthy choices, through green leafy vegetables and lots of different colors of fruits and vegetables, and through your lean cuts of protein, eggs, etc., etc. And so I really want to stress to you the importance of eating a salad. I want to stress to you the importance of eating fruits and vegetables of lots of different colors, eggs, and lean meats. This is probably the best source of vitamins and minerals that you can get. We're not talking about pills. If you would like to take supplements, and I'm talking about a pill from a bottle that you swallow, I think it is very reasonable for people to take a 1-a-day multivitamin. Again, I want you to check this out with your clinician. I am not recommending that you leave this live stream and drive yourself to the health food store and buy a bottle of multivitamins. Everything I'm saying right now is medical education to give you ideas to talk to your doctor. And the first idea here is to take a 1-a-day multivitamin. So a 1-a-day multivitamin is a thumbs up. Aside from a 1-a-day multivitamin, I do believe strongly that there's good evidence that supplementing low levels of vitamin D is important in MS. Low levels of vitamin D pre-puberty seem to increase an individual's risk to develop MS. And if you have low levels of vitamin D in MS, it correlates with bad neurological outcomes, increased attacks, increased spots, worsening progression. It is not gospel It is not proven unequivocally that supplementing vitamin D will revolutionize your MS. But when I look at the clinical data, I do believe that it's worthwhile to supplement vitamin D. I recommend supplementing vitamin D in the context of working with your MS provider. I like to check vitamin D levels so that I know where my patient's vitamin D is. And then I typically recommend supplementation specific for that individual to drive their level up into a normal MS range, which in my opinion is above 50 and below 100. Now, oftentimes that will translate into taking 4,000 international units, but you need to have your vitamin D checked by your provider so they can look at the level and give you an appropriate recommendation for you. I'll also share there's different types of vitamin D, and I recommend D3 because I feel that D3 is better absorbed by the human body as opposed to other forms of vitamin D like D2. So vitamin D, specifically vitamin D3, is something that I think is a reasonable consideration to add to taking a multivitamin. So we've got healthy eating with increasing your water. We're making good food choices, eating salads and fruits and vegetables of different colors, healthy whole grains and lean meats, and probably eggs. We've added in a multivitamin. And now I'm talking about supplementing low levels of vitamin D, taking D3. Again, you're doing this in the context of working with your provider. Beyond that, there's no clear-cut proof that another supplement is going to help you. I didn't say that it's impossible or not helpful. I said the data is not there. It's not adequate to make further vitamin recommendations. And you may be sitting on the other end of this live stream going, what the heck? When I go to the store, they tell me that I need this and this and this and this. And when I look on the internet, it says that I should take this and this and this and this. And what I'm telling you is that there's a paucity of medical evidence supporting that you need to be spending money on this supplement or that supplement. Beyond healthy eating, vitamin D, multivitamin, the evidence is really very lacking. Now, that doesn't mean that I'm not going to talk about several vitamins and minerals and supplements, because I am. But I want you to understand that point. The vitamin and supplement industry here in the United States is a multi-billion-dollar industry with a B. We're talking amazing amounts of money. And I don't want someone to fall prey to taking lots and lots of supplements with the false idea that it's going to improve their MS when there isn't evidence for that. Again, going back to my 3 rules, is it too expensive? Is it dangerous? And is it instead of something that we know works? But let's keep moving forward. There are some supplements that I will sometimes try with patients. And the next 2 that I'm going to talk about relate to fatigue. Pathologic fatigue is one of the most common symptoms in multiple sclerosis. And I have done innumerable live streams and videos talking about ways to improve fatigue. Exercise, diet, healthy eating are all part of this. And one consideration to talk to your doctor about is taking levocarnitine. Levocarnitine is one of the amino acids. And there is some evidence that taking levocarnitine, typically a gram twice a day, has been shown in clinical studies to improve energy levels in some people with multiple sclerosis. I'll say it 3 times. I don't want you to do this without talking to your doctor. But I have found for some of my patients, when they supplement with levocarnitine twice a day, it literally helps their energy levels. And so I throw that out as a consideration to consider levocarnitine. Another supplement, if you will, that I am personally fond of is the stimulant caffeine. Now, caffeine can be overused. And overuse of caffeine can increase blood pressure and heart rate. It can make it hard to sleep at night. It can contribute to insomnia. It can increase irritability. So it's not as if this is completely benign. But a cup of coffee or a cup of tea in the morning that has caffeine can help us wake up and can help us combat fatigue. Again, this is a consideration. I am not telling you to run out and pound your coffee. I am telling you that it's a supplement. It's something that we take into our bodies, and it may help us in some ways combat fatigue. I'm going to shift gears now and talk about some supplements that I sometimes consider for people as it relates to the GI system. So it's not uncommon that people impacted by MS can have difficulties with bowel function or can have trouble with GI processing. And there's some things to think about. Number one, we go back to water. If you haven't upped your water game, this can contribute to difficulties with the GI system. It can worsen constipation, for example, and that can be a major problem in MS. So if we're talking about supplements and we're talking about GI, we have to talk about water. The second piece that I want to talk about as it relates to the GI system is increasing your fiber content. Fiber, guys, is an indigestible solid. So a good example would be sawdust. If you eat some sawdust, and I'm not recommending that, if you were to eat some sawdust, your body can't absorb it. It's going to go in one part of your body, it's going to come out the other part of your body, and it's not going to be processed or absorbed. And whereas I don't think you should eat sawdust, I do think that you want to make sure that you're having adequate dietary fiber. You can get adequate dietary fiber by eating fruits and vegetables, but honestly, the amount of fruits and vegetables that you would have to eat is a whole bunch. And so sometimes it can be helpful to supplement. There's an entire aisle in the grocery store called I Can't Poop. And in that I Can't Poop aisle, you're going to find a bunch of fiber supplementation. And there's lots of name brands of things that you can take. And there's powders that you mix in with water, and there's pills that you swallow. But sometimes when you mix fiber and water, excellent GI things happen. When you add water to the fiber, it expands, kind of like a sponge. And so if you start increasing your water and increasing your fiber, and you do this properly over several weeks, as it mixes in with the food in your stool, it bulks up your stool, it makes it easier to hold on to, and it makes it easier to pass. Now, this fiber water trick does not work overnight. And you're going to need to do it for several weeks before you're going to start to reap the benefits. But I have had many people impacted by MS that benefit when they start to increase their water and their fiber. Another consideration for dealing with supplements for GI is probiotics. I have an entire video where I talk about probiotics in MS. So if you haven't checked that out, you might consider it. Probiotics are really supposed to be healthy bacteria. Our entire gut is lined with bacteria, and they help digest our foods. And it's been my experience anecdotally that some people, when they start taking probiotics, have much, much better control over their bowel function. They become much more regular. They have much more meaningful bowel movements. They have less diarrhea and near accidents, and they have less constipation. Again, this is something I only want you to do in talking to your doctor first. I'm giving you considerations for GI, up your water game, consider fiber, and probiotics. 2 comments about supplements related to sleep. Sleep is a major issue in MS. Not getting enough sleep has a major negative impact in MS. Getting quality sleep is something that we all need to strive towards. And many of you who spend time with me in clinic know I am not a fan of sleep aids. There's a plethora of medicines out there that are kind of like Bugs Bunny with a hammer smacking your foot on the head and knocking you out. And I'm not a fan of those. If you talk to your doctor about a sleep aid, I would encourage you to talk about taking melatonin. Melatonin is a supplement that can be taken before sleep. It's a natural product, and it can help induce a very natural sleep. I like it specifically because it doesn't make you groggy when you wake up. So if you take a pharmacologic sleep aid and then you need to get up for some reason, you can really be impaired. And that's a fall risk, and that can make you groggy and can contribute to cognitive fog. Melatonin doesn't do that. If you are having trouble with sleep and considering a sleep aid, I want you to talk to your doctor about supplementing with melatonin before bed. Also, specifically, if you suffer from restless leg syndrome. Restless leg syndrome is when everything's finally calm and quiet and you have a driving compulsion to shake your legs. And if you do so for a brief second, it feels okay. And then again, this compulsion builds up where you need to shake your legs. And this is not uncommon in multiple sclerosis, but it can occur in the setting of low iron. And so if you suffer from restless leg syndrome, you can talk to your doctor about checking iron levels. And if you are found to have low levels of iron, supplementing iron can be very, very helpful in dealing with restless leg. Now, one provocative vitamin that has received a tremendous amount of attention and is currently actively being studied in multiple sclerosis is high-dose biotin. Biotin is a B vitamin B7, And low doses of biotin, 3 milligrams a day, are supposed to improve nail integrity and hair integrity. I like to joke that clearly I don't take biotin, but we are currently studying ultra high doses of biotin. And in preliminary studies, it looks like very high doses of biotin, we're talking about 300 milligrams a day, may have an impact in slowing brain volume loss and slowing disability progression in primary progressive MS. And so you might talk to your doctor about supplementing biotin. There's a very important caveat that you have to pay attention to. If you are taking high-dose biotin, it can spuriously change the results of certain lab tests because the laboratory assay uses biotin as part of the way the test is done. And so if you have ultra high doses of biotin in your blood, it can actually jack up the results of the lab. It's not that you have an abnormal finding, it's that the laboratory gives a false reading. And so if you're going to consider taking biotin, of course, you're going to talk to your doctor first, and you need to make other healthcare professionals aware, I'm on high-dose biotin, and you would need to stop the biotin several days prior to having any lab test so that you don't have unusual or false results. That's a really important one. There's a lot of other supplements and vitamins. There's B12. I do not recommend taking excessive amounts of B12 unless you're found to have a low level. Low levels of B12 can impact your energy. Low levels of B12 can have an impact in other areas of the nervous system. But if you don't have a low B12 level, I'm not recommending that you take B12. You can have your level checked. So if you're curious about it, you can talk to your doctor and you can ask your doctor to check your B12 level. Otherwise, I would not take more B12 than you might find in a multivitamin. There are other supplements that have been studied a tiny bit in MS, and I do not feel that the evidence is strong enough that I can look a patient in the eye and say, you need to take this. These are things like CoQ10, lipoic acid, fish oil with omega-3, turmeric, and the list goes on and on. Some of you might be a bit disappointed because you thought I was going to give you the secret holy grail to curing MS with supplements. And again, the reality is there is no magic bullet. In very brief summary, I want you to be 4 for 4 in your fight against MS. That means exercising as part of your lifestyle, not smoking cigarettes, taking a DMT, and paying attention to your diet. You want to eat a healthy diet where you're having salads, fruits and vegetables of different colors, whole grains, lean meats, eggs. And if you're going to take a supplement, I think it's reasonable to talk to your doctor about a multivitamin. I think it's important to check for low levels of vitamin D and supplement. And beyond that, the evidence isn't strong enough that we can say with authority. But any supplement that you're thinking of taking, make sure that you run it by your doctor. My 3 rules for supplements: it can't be too expensive, it can't be dangerous, and it can't be instead of something that works. My name is Boster, and I want to thank you for learning about MS with me. Thank you so much for joining me today, where we did a live stream talking about supplements for multiple sclerosis. If you'd like to learn more about nutrition and MS, click the playlist in the upper right-hand corner. If you haven't yet, please consider subscribing to my channel by clicking that circle with my face in it. Seriously, click my face.